I don't know. Can you hear me? Hey, Pat. Hey, Bill. Well, I guess everything's working. It's a little slow on my end, but it is working. You guys been out fishing or anything like that at all? Got my boat all bottom painted yesterday and hoping to launch it sometime this week. You doing any good? Nice. I got out on the Betsy the other day. They're catching some suckers down there, and there's still some steelhead in there. Um, I lost a nice steelhead and about five suckers. I really didn't do any good, but my buddy, he came down and he's a river guide and he had the right stuff to drift the river. I was just sinker dinking, and he got himself a nice steelhead and about five suckers. And he ended up giving them to me, so I got a sucker and a steelhead to throw in the smoker here this week sometime. I haven't had smoked steelhead in a while. And then they were getting some smelt out in Arcadia, but of course I got out there and it was too windy to wade, so I didn't do so good. Nice. Master Angler Sunfish. Awesome. That is awesome. That's a big sunfish. You gonna mount it? Or is it going into the dinner pan? And for anybody that's wondering too, they're also getting some smelt out of the Singing Bridge, Whitney Drain over by Augrey. A couple guys I know got their limits the other night. With the water temperature cooled down here over on my side of the state, it's back down into the mid 30s, so the smelt stopped. But maybe this next week. Yeah, Arcadia, north of Manistee, and Onekama was getting a few. That would have been last Saturday. I found out about it Sunday after LT's broadcast was over with. Well, you can always use it for something else or catch a bigger bluegill, I guess. And I know while I was bottom painting my boat yesterday, my boss went out fishing outside of Frankfort, just off the pier heads, and got two out of three lake trout. Didn't get lucky enough to get any browns or steelhead. And no mushrooms here either. I went out Friday night. They haven't even started yet, but any day now. I know they're getting them in Allegan and they're getting them in Oakland County. and a few places to the north. Yeah, but the snow's not going to stay. It's going to be too warm for that. And they keep changing the temperatures. It's every time I look at it, the temperatures are going up now. It's going to be 40 tomorrow, 42, 40s in the Tuesday, and then 50s the rest of the week. So, and I haven't looked at it in a couple hours, but I can check it real quick. Yeah, 42 tomorrow, 42 Tuesday, and then 50s, 53 on Wednesday, 61 on Thursday. So, but they can't make up their mind. It's too hard to tell what temperatures are going to be with Lake Michigan out there. Who said that, Pat? Oh, okay. Um, yeah, you're not ruining the fishery keeping all the fish. That's he thinks that people over dipping the smelt is what caused the problem, and what caused the problem is the salmon and the steelhead overstocking. They ate themselves out of house and home with the alewives. They went to the smelt and the perch. That's why the perch population went down. I argued with this with a biologist, and he finally seen my point and actually agreed with me. Because the DNR will sit and claim that the steelhead and salmon are not eating perch. Well, how come we're finding them in the bellies of every fish that we catch? And how come day after day after day, the best lure pattern is a perch if they're not eating them? And then I further went on to explain, okay, if the salmon and steelhead are not eating the perch, how come Little Bay Denok and Big Bay Denok have a very viable perch population? Why does Saginaw Bay have a very viable perch population along with Lake St. Clair? And the simple reason is neither one of them have salmon or steelhead hanging around inside of them. Yeah, they may run through them for a month or two a year, but they're not living there year round. And I'm sorry, but the population of the salmon came down. The population of smelt went up. They're getting perch out in the big waters now. You know, it's pretty obvious. Now the smelt population down in Lake Erie, that wasn't due to salmon or steelhead. That was just due to the explosion of the walleye. That years ago, I can remember when I was working on the charter boat, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources flew a low plane over Lake Erie where they could see down inside of it, and they monitored a school of walleye that was over 15 miles by 8 miles, and they have no idea how deep it was. That's a huge school of walleye. And I'm sorry, but smelt don't stand a chance against a bunch of walleye. They're just too small. The only thing I will say is if you have a small inland lake or a pond, if you take too many of the predator fish out of the bass and the pike, you are going to get the stunted bluegills. And you can overtake the predator fish. Pike will take care of themselves. They'll actually overpopulate, and then you'll still end up with stunted fish. But you definitely got to take them out of there. And I'm sorry, but keeping a limit, you know, every now and then is not going to hurt the population at all. If it did, then why are the walleye so good still on Lake Erie and the Detroit River, St. Clair River, and Lake St. Clair? Those areas get pounded. I mean, I'm in some groups on Facebook, and they're just smashing the walleye right now down the Detroit River. Oh, they're getting coho down there too, huh? That's pretty awesome. I can remember fishing the Blue Water Classic Salmon Tournament back in the 80s, and we did pretty good on the kings down there, but that's about all that we caught. And we were fishing out of, I believe it was Lexington. I know they're getting coho up by Marquette. They're getting coho down in southern Lake Michigan, but they haven't seen no coho around here yet. And usually they don't really show up around Frankfort area until mid-July, and then they show up a whole lot better in August. Well, I know a guy that just took his boat down the Detroit River. He's a charter captain, and they got a 6-man limit yesterday in the morning and a 6-man limit yesterday in the afternoon. Him and his dad went out fishing the day before that, and they took 2 other people with them, and they all got their limit. And I mean, every boat down there is doing that. And we're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of boats over the course of the week. And they've been doing that since I lived down there back in the 80s. And that population is still strong. And the state really don't stock walleye. The Michigan Walleye Association used to stock them down in Lake St. Clair, but they were made to stop years ago by the DNR. I don't know if they've allowed them to stock back up or not. But they used to be the ones that stocked all the inland lakes throughout Michigan, too. But I almost went over to Singing Bridge last night just to get some smelt. I want to get about 2 gallons of them, a gallon for my own personal use and then a gallon for bait. Start dragging some meat rigs around with smelt on them because I know that's going to just smash them out here in Frankfort. There was days that I was struggling out there, as well as you know, Pat. But the guys that were doing stuff, they were catching them on meat rigs, and unfortunately, I didn't have a meat rig with me those days. I've got stocked up on them now over the winter. But I think if I drag a smelt in one of them, I think that'll just slay them because it's a natural food for them. And Pat, you've got a fishing trip still coming for this year too, just so you know. I was real disappointed with how things went last year on all the trips I took out. Wow. Yeah, I used to live in Emily City at one time, and that was just a hop, skip, and a jump over to Port Huron or to Lexington. It's definitely an area that if you watch the weather, you can get out there with a 14-foot boat and do some good fishing. Yeah, if either one of you guys are ever up in the Frankfort area and want to go out fishing, just get a hold of me. I'm always looking for somebody to go out fishing. And I just picked up 8 new reels this over the winter that I'm going to be outfitting with lead core, and I'll be running boards off to the side. And because last year I started dragging some lead core around at the end of the year, and it does pay off. No, it's not hurting. Like I said, the only thing that hurt the salmon population as it stood a few years ago was just overstocking. The fish ate themselves out of house and home. They ran out of basically alewives and smelt. Just started eating anything that could fit in their mouth. And now we've got sizable populations of alewives out there. You know, the lake trout have pretty much eaten gobies, so they're leaving the alewives alone as well. Um, it's definitely a new fishery out there. I know when I get my boat in, like I said, I'm hoping next week. There's a couple things I want to do to it. But I did get the bottom painting done this week while it was warm. Well, actually yesterday. But I was informed of a couple of perch beds that I want to try that get some big perch off of. And if I find that, I'm gonna be a happy camper because I can get my perch dinners again. There's also gonna be a few times this summer I'm gonna be hauling a boat over to Saginaw Bay to go walleye fishing. So I'm gonna try and get some people that want to go out walleye fishing because it's a long drive to just go to catch 5 or 6 fish. And walleye is what I grew up fishing in Lake St. Clair. You know, when I wasn't from shore. Yeah, I'll show you these new reels that I picked up. Figured I'd give them a try. I got one heck of a price on them. It's all carbon drag system on them. And with the line that I'm going to be putting on them, it's going to hold about 600 yards altogether, which is more than enough to fight a fish. But I couldn't beat the price for 20 bucks, and I know a charter captain that's using them, and he says they work great, so I figured I'd give them a try. Steelhead they're catching them off the piers from Ludington all the way to Frankfort, and I'm sure south as well. We did get a fresh run of fish up the river the other day, but there's still a bunch out there waiting to come up. And they are, like I said, they are getting them off the pier heads using the split shot or egg slip sinker with a spawn sack on it. There's some skinny little neon worms out there. That's what my buddy, the river guide, uses, and I watched him catch that steelhead the other day on it. Of course, he had his daughter with him, and every fish he gets on, she wants to reel in. So she reeled it in, and they brought it down and asked me if I wanted it because he's so full of steelhead at home. I guess it's crazy. I said, yeah, I'll take it. I haven't had steelhead on a smoker in years. So I got me some steelhead spawn too. Matter of fact, I gotta treat that here in a little while. I know they're getting perch on the inland lakes like Higgins Lake, bluegills on Lake St. Helen. They're getting a mismatch of stuff in Houghton Lake. Getting some big panfish and a few walleye. Crystal Lake, the perch still haven't started up yet, but I'm expecting that they will. I got the trailer hitch on my little car last week, and I just got to go down and get my 14-foot aluminum boat, and I can start hitting up some of these inland lakes. Okay, the steelhead and brown start showing up, oh, mid-March, and right now they're getting them in between the third sandbar and shore. Dragging stick baits if you can get them, Rapellas. And what you want to do is you want to run a board off to the side of your boat, either the big planer board or the little boards. Get as far away from the boat as you can. You want to get your trolling speed down to 1.7, 1.9, and just keep working that. And if you don't, you're not going to see fish on the graph, obviously, because they're going to really spook, because you can see bottom at that point. But if you don't get a bite within an hour on the next pass that you come through, just move out to that second sandbar, and then eventually out to the third one. And they'll be there until the water heats up into the upper 40s. Then they'll move out to 35, 45 feet of water. But they're in close right now. Yeah, last I knew they were still ice fishing a few places up in the UP. But I know I live a mile down the road from Crystal Mountain Resort. And all week long, I pull out of my driveway and I see the snow on 115. And Friday or Saturday, there's hardly anything left on that mountain anymore. That 80 degree weather the last couple days really took care of it. Okay, Pat, I'll do that. I wanna get into that pretty quick, but I got to get the bigger boat on the water first. And once I do that, then I'm going to pull Night Moves out, and it's just going to be a trailer boat. All right, well, I'm going to end this. I got to jump in the shower because I was working outside a little while ago, and I'm still wet from the rain and everything else. And I just wanted to try this software out. I'm going to start every Thursday night doing a live show. And I have more on the fishing reports. But if you're familiar with Manistee Lake down in Manistee, Michigan, there's smoking the perch there too, but you got to have a small boat to get to them. And they're getting them up to 15 inches long using wigglers, minnows. So, and I'm going to have a contest going here pretty quick too. No charge to enter it. And I'll announce that when I go live this Thursday about 7:30. So, All right, we'll talk to you guys later, and tune in Thursday night, 7:30. I will be here. Have a good week. Tight lines, everyone.